Violins traditionally have a label on the inside with the maker's name. I want to do something special for the Redwood violin, so I looked on the internet and I was delighted to find that Santa Rosa has a papermaker. And not only that, she's got a special interest in making paper out of local materials. So I've come down today to meet Jane Ingram Allen, papermaker.
It's paint, ink, thread, all kinds of drawing materials, petals, leaves, everything.
Fantastic.
You can see some grass in there. Okay, my name is Jane Ingram Allen, and I've been making my own paper for my artwork for about 40-something years. And I got into it because I was an artist and I studied art. And one day we had a paper maker come to the museum where I was working who, showed us how to make paper. And I just fell in love with the process. And I've gone all over the world studying and making my paper. And I came here to Santa Rosa in 2012. After about 8 years in Taiwan as a Fulbright scholar doing handmade paper with the plants of Taiwan. You need plant fibers to make paper.
Okay.
So to make paper from these, it's a kind of yucca plant. I would just cut them up, put them in a pan of water, and cook them for about 3 or 4 hours with some alkaline solution.
Okay.
And paper is also made from bark. And this is a branch from the mulberry tree that's out here in our front yard. And mulberry bark is actually one of the best paper making fibers in the world. You can see it's really strong.
Wow.
And you can strip the bark off fairly easily, especially after it's soaked in water and steamed a bit, which is what you usually do to easily remove the bark. And this is some of the mulberry bark fiber that's been cooked and washed.
Oh, wow.
And the next part is beating it.
Can I feel that?
And yeah.
It looks just like wool.
Yeah, it's kind of like wool.
And
it's another.
it doesn't feel
It's an animal
a lot
fiber.
different, really. Right.
And plant fiber is what you make paper from.
Wow.
And you probably heard the expression, "beat something to a pulp."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
Oh,
In
so-
paper making, you
So
actually.
is that mallet there your pulp
Yeah.
beater?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is my hand beater, and you can see it's just a heavy piece of wood, all in one piece.
Is that particularly a paper maker's
No,
tool? Or
it was just a thing I found at a flea market in Connecticut one time. And it's been all over the world with me
Really?
doing paper making.
That's great.
It's a really good tool. And this is, a really good size, not too heavy.
So after beating it, you chop it up?
Chop it up, and then I'm going to use the kitchen blender.
Oh! So before blenders, what would people have done?
They would just beat it for a long time by hand.
And it would eventually just fall apart?
Yeah.
I see.
The blender just speeds up the process and mixes it up a bit easier. And you can see it looks quite different now.
Oh, wow.
It's all mush, paper pulp. This is my mulberry bark tub.
All right. Can I feel it?
Yeah, it just has water and fibers in it.
It's so soft, and then when you actually get the pulp, it's quite hard in there.
Yeah, it's a very strong pulp. And I do most of my paper making in an Asian way. So I use this material called Formation Aid. And Formation Aid also comes from plants. And it makes like a continuous string. It's very slimy.
Oh.
The chemical name is
Sorry,
polyethylene oxide.
I need to touch that as well. Is polyethylene oxide, is it, it's a synthetic?
Yeah, it's a synthetic, and most paper makers use a synthetic now. When I went to South America, I didn't bring any of the powder with me to mix it up, so I had to find a natural formation aid, and I used okra. It's that slimy, it's a little green, but it's the same thing. So I was able to use that there. In other countries, they use different plants. In Japan and Asia, they use the root of a hibiscus plant. And in other parts of Europe and so on, you can use slippery elm bark.
Oh yeah, I know that.
And so the formation aid is kind of a magic ingredient. It makes the fibers suspend more evenly.
Okay.
And makes it drain slower, and it makes it possible to do multiple dips and make really strong paper but very thin. That's the Japanese use the mulberry bark for making money and also for making windows and screens, you know, for their houses. So it's a very strong fiber. It's even been used for clothing. It's very cloth-like. And the other thing you need for making paper is some sort of screening or mesh on a wooden frame usually that will and the other thing you need is felt, which kind of makes the soft padding. And this would traditionally be wool felt. I think this is polyester, maybe an old blanket or something.
Okay.
And then to put the newly formed sheet of paper, I use just pieces of non-woven interfacing.
Oh yeah.
You know, goes in your collar or the front of a shirt.
Right.
And you know, that's wet too. And I put it down on top of the felt. The felt is just really to give it more of a padded surface to work on. You smooth that out. And then this part is called the decal.
Oh, I've heard of those. Like a decal edge.
Decal edge. It makes the decal edge. And you put it on top, and you know, all the fiber will be captured in there, and the water will run through, and it'll let a few fibers go under that.
I see.
So that's how you get the decal edge.
Ah, okay.
And that's what you pay for when you get expensive stationery.
You're paying for a leak, in other words.
Yeah, and, you know, it supposedly means it was formed one sheet at a time. So I'm going to go in here and go in vertically, and I'm going to go flat on the bottom, and then I'm going to move the pulp around as the water drains.
Wow, as simple as that.
It's as simple as that.
or is this something? Is this something that looks simple because you've been doing it for 50 years?
It's anybody can do it. It's just you know, the quality of the paper and the strength of the paper. It's part of it in the preparation of the fiber, and part of it in how it's formed. And you know, I've taught paper making all over the world, even to 2- and 3-year-olds, you know, because anybody can dip it in there and lift it up and get something. And
wow, that's wonderful.
so if I wanted to make this paper stronger and thicker, I would go in again, and this time I'll rock it vertically. So that is sort of like weaving the fibers together.
And it's important.
First time is this way.
I see. And then
the second
and
dip
then they sort of
that
align
way.
differently on each layer.
Yeah. And that's what makes the Japanese style paper so very strong, and it can still be tissue thin.
And this is mulberry pulp in this one?
Only mulberry pulp and water and a little bit of formation in it.
Wow.
And then you lift the decal off and you bring it over here. And this part is called couching. You know, paper making has its own little vocabulary. And so you turn it over, press the outside, and then you use a sponge to, you know, kind of press it more. Take out some of the water. Usually I squeeze this water in another bucket. Don't want to put it back in the tub. And then you lift it up, and the paper is transferred onto the halon.
Look at that.
And if I wanted to make it thicker, I would just keep, you know, making layers. And when I was making the paper for the label for the Redwood Violin, you know, because she's going to be doing the calligraphy on it, I knew it had to be sized. And sizing is like a starch that makes, you know, as it is now, it's just fiber with nothing coating it. But usually, you know, artists use paper that is sized. And so for the sizing, I've tried 3 different things. I can show you right here. Knox gelatin, clear Knox gelatin.
All right.
That you can get at any supermarket because, you know, it's used in the kitchen.
So I see down here a little pot of tendon glue that I dropped off here yesterday.
And I tried that. It worked the same as, and this is Methylcellulose, which is a powder used in bookmaking.
Right.
It's an archival, water reversible, very safe glue. And so, you know, I tried all 3 of these, and I gave her some samples of all 3
Some
to
of
try
each.
it.
I see.
See which one would be best for the pen and the ink that she's using. You know, I would just put it on here and then paint that, and it would dry against the glass, and then you just peel it off.
And that's to give you a smoother surface.
It gives a smoother surface, also makes the ink not go into the fiber. It stays on top.
This is a book that you made.
This is a book I wrote after my Fulbright project in Taiwan in 2005. And this is all about my travels around the country of Taiwan. And I used over 135 different plants of Taiwan to make paper for my artwork.
Wow.
And I was making maps of the whole area of Taiwan, and also maps of different parts of Taiwan, using the plants to make the paper, and then, you know, collage and painting, mixed media. And here I was working on a rooftop in Taipei as my studio. And so each of these maps is made from paper of Taiwan.
Wow.
This one is about the election when I first went there.
Yeah.
The national election. It has some election banners and signs in it. And these flowers are very famous in that part of the country.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can see how the Redwood Violin fits right
Really
into
fits
the
into what I'm
pattern of
doing.
thinking that you already have. Well, this has been really informative. Very, very interesting. It's been great to meet you.
Great to meet you.
And thanks so much for being part of the Redwood Violin.
I'm very happy to be concluded. Thank you.